16 years ago, Madonna made headlines by adopting a little boy from Malawi, giving him a chance at a brighter future. That boy, David Banda, is now a young man with remarkable talents and an inspiring story. From humble beginnings to living a life filled with opportunity, his journey captures hearts everywhere. What has become of Madonna's adopted son? His incredible life now will leave you amazed. Madonna's decision to adopt David Banda. Back in 2006, Madonna was riding high as one of the biggest names in the world. Her music, acting, and fearless personality had made her a global icon. But there was another side to her that not everyone saw: her heart for making a difference. Around that time, she started getting deeply involved in humanitarian work, especially with a project close to her heart, Raising Malawi. This charity was all about helping orphans and vulnerable kids in Malawi, one of the poorest countries out there. During one of her visits to Malawi, something life-changing happened. She met a little boy named David Banda. He was just over a year old, but life had already been so hard for him. Born in a rural village with almost no resources, David had lost his mother shortly after he was born. His dad, Yohani Banda, was left to care for him and his other kids, but it became too much. Yohani made the heartbreaking decision to place David in the Home of Hope orphanage, praying his son would get the chance at a better life. When Madonna saw David, it was like her heart broke on the spot. He was so frail, fighting pneumonia and other serious health issues. She felt an instant connection with him, something deeper than words. In that moment, she decided she had to do something. She wanted to give David a real shot at a better life, one filled with love, stability, and opportunities. She decided to adopt him. Adopting David was far from straightforward. In 2006, Malawi had no formal adoption laws for international adoptions, leading to complications and legal hurdles. Madonna faced significant criticism from human rights groups and media outlets, who accused her of exploiting her celebrity status to expedite the adoption process. Some questioned the ethics of removing David from his native country and culture, while others speculated that Madonna's adoption was nothing more than a publicity stunt. Despite the public scrutiny, Madonna remained firm in her decision, emphasizing her genuine desire to provide David with love and opportunities. She reassured critics that she would ensure David stayed connected to his Malawian roots. In a show of support, David's father, Yohani, spoke out in favor of the adoption. He had initially placed his son in the orphanage because he could not afford to care for him, and he believed Madonna could offer a much better life than he ever could. With Yohani's approval, Madonna's persistence, and the backing of the Malawian authorities, the adoption was finalized in 2008, 2 years after Madonna first met David. David Banda's early life. David Banda's life started in a tiny village in Malawi, where the odds were stacked against him. Born on September 24, 2005 in Lapunga, he faced tragedy right from the start. His mother passed away shortly after his birth due to complications and a lack of medical resources. Left alone to care for his son, David's father, Yohani, struggled as a farmer barely scraping by. Ultimately, Yohani made a gut-wrenching decision to place David in the care of an orphanage, hoping it would give him a chance at survival. At the Home of Hope orphanage, David faced uphill battles with his health, including a severe bout of pneumonia. Despite the staff's best efforts, his condition remained precarious. Then, like something out of a movie, Madonna walked into the orphanage during a charity visit. She wasn't just there for photos or headlines. Something about David struck her heart. She knew she couldn't leave without giving him a shot at a better life. Adopting David wasn't a straightforward process. Madonna faced legal hurdles and relentless scrutiny from the media. Questions about her motives and criticisms of international adoption swirled around her. But Madonna wasn't one to back down. She believed David deserved every chance she could offer and fought tirelessly through the red tape. It took a year, but her determination won out. In 2008, David's adoption was finalized. Just like that, he went from an orphanage in Malawi to one of the most famous families in the world. His life would never be the same again. David's transition into Madonna's world was nothing short of dramatic. Gone were the days of uncertainty and hardship. Instead, he found himself in a life filled with possibilities, access to world-class education, the best health care, and every opportunity he could dream of. But with privilege came the public spotlight. Being Madonna's son meant attending glamorous events, traveling the world, and having every move scrutinized by the media. Yet, amidst all the glitz and glamour, Madonna ensured her home remained grounded. Alongside his siblings, biological and adopted, David grew up in a diverse and loving family. He bonded especially with Mercy James, who was also adopted from Malawi, and formed unique connections with his other siblings, Lourdes, Rocco, and the twin girls, Stella and Esther. It was a household bustling with shared experiences, laughter, and Madonna's firm yet loving guidance. David didn't just grow up surrounded by privilege. He also grew into his passions, one of which was soccer. From a young age, he showed a natural affinity for the sport. Whether he was playing casually with friends or training in youth leagues, it quickly became clear he had talent. Madonna, ever the supportive mom, took notice. Despite her whirlwind schedule as a global superstar, she prioritized David's budding love for the game. She signed him up for local teams and ensured he had access to top-notch coaches. Then, in 2017, she made a bold move, relocating her entire family to Lisbon, Portugal. Why Lisbon? It wasn't for the scenic views or the pastel de nata, though those are definitely perks. Portugal is a soccer powerhouse, home to world-class academies and a culture that breathes the sport. For David, it was the perfect place to grow as a player. Madonna enrolled David in Benfica Youth Academy, one of Europe's elite soccer training grounds. Here, he didn't just play soccer, he lived and breathed it. Under the guidance of top coaches, David honed his skills and embraced the discipline required to thrive in the sport. Balancing intense training with schoolwork wasn't easy, but David proved he was up for the challenge. And Madonna wasn't just cheering from the sidelines. She was involved every step of the way, meeting with his coaches, attending games, and proudly sharing his milestones on social media. Her hands-on approach earned her the nickname Soccer Mom in the press. Madonna wore the title with pride, often posting about David's progress and expressing her excitement for his future. She became a fixture at his games, proving that even global superstars can make time to be their kid's biggest fan. Today, David is a confident young man with the world at his feet. At 16, he's already lived a life most people couldn't imagine. From his humble beginnings in Lipunga to the fields of Benfica's academy, his journey is nothing short of extraordinary. What's next for David? Will he go pro in soccer? Will he carve out his own path beyond the sport? Whatever he chooses, one thing is clear: his story is just getting started. Challenges in the spotlight. Growing up in the public eye is no easy feat, and for David Banda, it came with its own set of challenges. Being Madonna's son meant constant attention, both on and off the soccer field. While most young players can focus solely on their game, David had to deal with cameras following his every move. The pressure to succeed wasn't just about proving his talent, it was about proving he belonged, despite his famous last name. Critics often dismissed his opportunities as a result of his mother's influence, but David's dedication told another story. He worked hard, determined to make a name for himself in the soccer world that was entirely his own. It wasn't about riding on coattails, it was about showing he could compete with anyone. His time at Benfica helped him do just that. Surrounded by peers with the same hunger for success, David had a chance to grow and prove his skills. But there was more to David's story than soccer. His connection to his Malawian roots remained an essential part of his identity. So, has David ever gone back to visit Malawi? The answer is yes, and it's a part of his life that Madonna ensured was never forgotten. From the start, Madonna understood how important it was for David to stay connected to where he came from. Despite what some assumed, she worked hard to nurture that bond. In 2016, when David was 10, she took him back to Malawi. By then, rumors had already begun swirling. Some accused Madonna of trying to distance David from his heritage, while others speculated about her personal life and its potential impact on him. Even David's biological father, Johan Banda, expressed concerns. At one point, he called for David to be returned to Malawi, forgetting the circumstances that led to the adoption. When David was an infant, Johan was struggling. With an income of just €50 a year, he couldn't provide the care his son needed. He had even planned to take David to an orphanage to ensure he could survive. Madonna's decision to adopt David wasn't taken lightly. She faced obstacles, criticism, and a long process to give him a better life, but she never wanted him to lose touch with his origins. That visit to Malawi was one of the ways she made sure David remained connected to his heritage. Today, David's story is about more than fame or sports. It's about resilience, identity, and family. His journey shows that balancing a high-profile life with a deep sense of self is possible, even in the face of constant challenges. Madonna's struggles with the adoption process. Madonna recalled that she forgot to apply for a passport for the 13-month-old, which delayed the flight on the tarmac. At the time, Johan had to step forward publicly, telling the world's media that he supported the adoption and that blocking it would destroy his son's future. Later, Madonna described the harrowing ordeal as being as emotionally taxing as giving birth. When Madonna and David visited Malawi in 2016, they were greeted by Johanna, the village chief, and the elders. It was a surreal moment of a long-lost son returning home amidst the sound of ululations and jubilant singing from the entire community. It was Mercy James's turn the day before, but on a trip to the Home of Hope orphanage in Malawi, Big Bro David Banda took the spotlight. Madonna and her adopted son were given a hero's welcome as they returned to the place where David grew up. The village had arranged performances of traditional dances, including a special performance by children from the local primary school, which David would have attended if he had grown up in the village. For Johan, it was a joyful occasion, especially as it gave him the opportunity to introduce David to his 4 younger siblings, including the youngest, Shukilo, who was just 2.5 weeks old. In his words, he said, "I can't put into words how happy I was to spend 4 hours with my son," Johan shared. "He's a good boy, humble and well-behaved. I am proud of him." He even said that he considers this place his home and plans to visit often, he added. Madonna's visit eased Johan's concerns about David's well-being, which had escalated during her dispute with her ex-husband. At the time, Johan expressed worry about David living so far away in the U.S., especially as Madonna was dating several younger men. "What I've heard about Madonna's lifestyle since her divorce from her husband has been quite shocking," he was quoted as saying back then. "Her relationships with much younger boyfriends don't align with Malawian culture at all. David wouldn't be exposed to that kind of thing here. It's not how we live. We have strong family values." However, after months of anxiety, Johan says he can finally relax, having embraced his son and witnessed firsthand the close bond Madonna shares with David. In an interview with Mail Online, he said, "I have nothing but praise for Madonna. I am extremely positive about her. Wow, what an exciting turnaround." But he wasn't done. He continued, "I am happy. As far as I'm concerned, Madonna assured me that the boy will return to me once he has completed his education." Growing up as the adopted son of Madonna, David Banda has lived most of his life in the spotlight. From a young age, his every move has been followed by the media, being part of one of the most famous families in the world. While many would find this level of attention overwhelming, David has learned to embrace it and make it work for him, especially in these days of social media. When Madonna adopted David in 2006, the media became fascinated with his story. His adoption made headlines around the world, and the public was keen to know more about his life. Early on, the focus was primarily on Madonna's decision to adopt him from Malawi and the legal controversies that surrounded the adoption. As David grew older, the media's attention shifted toward his integration into Madonna's family and his development as an individual. The constant analysis of his life meant that David had little privacy, and his milestones were often the topic of discussion in public forums. The media portrayal of David's life has varied over the years. On one hand, many outlets celebrated his journey, often showing the positive aspects of his life with Madonna. This includes his passion for soccer and his travels around the world. On the other hand, there has been criticism and speculation about his upbringing, with some questioning whether growing up in such a high-profile environment would affect his development. David's close bond with Madonna. The bond between David and Madonna is undeniable. She has often expressed her pride in him, sharing moments of their life on social media and in interviews. Madonna has taken on the role of not just a mother but also a mentor, helping David unravel the complexities of fame while encouraging him to stay true to himself. In recent years, David has also started to develop his relationship with the public eye and social media. Like many young people, David has embraced platforms like Instagram, where he occasionally shares glimpses of his life, interests, and achievements. Social media has allowed David to take control of his public image to some extent. With social media, he can offer a more personal and authentic look into his world, something different from the narratives the media could create out of their imagination and run with. Now, in his late teens, David is balancing the opportunities that have come from being Madonna's son with his ambitions. Although much of his early life was shaped by media attention and his famous upbringing, David is now stepping into adulthood, pursuing his passions, and exploring who he wants to become. Apart from his athletic pursuits, David has also shown an interest in the arts and fashion. He has made public appearances with Madonna at high-profile events, often turning heads with his bold and fashionable outfits. Whether it's attending red carpet events such as the Grammy Awards or supporting his mother at charity functions, David's presence has attracted media attention. His sense of style is eclectic, often reflecting Madonna's influence as a pop culture and fashion idol. David has expressed his love for fashion and music, which could suggest that he might explore these fields further in the future. Recently, David Banda made his runway debut at Off-White's Spring 2025 show during New York Fashion Week on Sunday, September 8, 2024. He follows in the footsteps of his older sister, Lourdes Leon, who has previously walked for Versace, Marine Serra, and Luis de Javier. At the event, Banda, who is now a musician, strutted down the runway in a plaid collared vest, black pleated trousers, statement earrings, gloves, and flip-flops. His debut was witnessed by a star-studded audience, including singer Camila Cabello, actress Issa Rae, and Olympic gymnast Suni Lee. David's musical and entrepreneurial ventures. She told Jimmy Fallon on an episode of The Tonight Show in August 2022 that her son David Banda loves fashion as much as she does. In the same year, he made news when he was seen in a picture with his mother wearing an exact copy of the Adidas dress she famously wore in 1993. She told him, "He can dress in anything and look swag as you know what. It really bothers me. He looks better in my clothes than I do. In fact," she said, "he can pull off a dress." She also told them that David is now making songs and joked, "He'll be one of your guests." David started his new project a while ago after having a lot of success on Madonna's Celebration tour, where he played guitar and danced at every show. Along with the Instagram post, he said, "Welcome to my online guitar class, where everyone, from beginners learning their first chords to seasoned musicians perfecting their craft, can come together for a fun-filled jam session." He said, "Grab your guitar and join me as we dig into the wonderful world of chords, scales, and everything in between." David told people who were interested in becoming his students to go for it and not be afraid, because it doesn't matter if they are still working on Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star or are ready to let out their inner rock star. He said that the class is all about having fun while making songs with other people. David said on Instagram that his calendar is available for bookings until September and that he's ready to make a lot of money from his jam sessions. He said that one-on-one lessons would cost $200 an hour, but the payment terms say that people who want to use his services must book 5 classes at $200 each, for a total of $1,000 for each person who signs up. Do you not think that's too bad? The way his mother has talked about him in talks makes it clear that David will be successful in everything he does. Madonna has often said nice things about his drive and toughness. In a 2019 chat with British Vogue, Madonna talked about how much she loved her adopted son, David Banda. "What David has most in common is focus and determination," she said. "I think he got it from me." When Madonna thought about their friendship, she said, "He's the one I share the most traits with. I believe he understands me." She said, "He has more of my DNA than any of my other children so far. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, make sure to click on the video displayed on your screen.